Now the cars, as I said, heading out onto the circuit for the mini Miglias, and you can turn to your respective page in your program where you can find the entry list for this one, and if you wish to do so, there will be a space for a grid in due course as well. And the grid for this one we'll run you through in just a few seconds' time. Which will be based on earlier results by the looks of it. So we'll see how that lines up in just a minute as the cars now start to work their way onto the grid, and we can see already the doors are being opened on those cars because it's turned into a nice hot afternoon, which we didn't really expect too much sunshine today. It said it's going to be cloudy all the way through, but in the end it looks like the sun has peeked its nose out and just keeping it very warm for everybody out there on circuit. So the grid will line up as follows then for this mini Miglia race. It's an amended grid, so it's going to have Nick Padmore on pole position with Jeff Smith alongside. The second row then sees number 78 Scott Kendall with number 11 Kane Astin. Further back on row 3, number 5 Phil Bullen Brown and 49 Martin Wager. The fourth row, number 12 Endarth Owens, joined by what's going to be number 8 Colin Peacock. The fifth row, number 98 is going to be Ian Curley with 1 Aaron Smith. The sixth row, number 29 Damien Harrington with 37, which is James Cuthbertson. The seventh row, number 76 Joe Polly and 89 Sean King. The eighth row will see number 64 Alex Osborne and 86 Nick Paddy. The ninth row, number 84 is Ryan Taylor and 99 Mark Cowan. The 10th row, number 53 is Jodie Leeds and 91 Thorburn Astin. The 11th row, number 20 Mark Sims and 23 Rupert Death. The 12th row, number 24 is Steve Ewell and 34 Joe Ferguson. And number 25th position is number 44, which is Elliot Stafford. Some of these might be with problems, so we'll get to that in just a few minutes. Then we have the Libra grid, which is headed by number 126, which is Peter Mills, joined by 474 Josh Evans. Next row, number 133 is Les Stanton, with number 595 Julian Proctor, and towards the back of the grid we should be seeing number 113 Philip Harvey and 969, which is Steve Trench, to complete the Libras that we have out there on the grid. So off they go onto their formation lap, ready to get 20 minutes of racing underway. We did see the minis out earlier, as we said, with the Miglias for the first race. It was a bit chaotic. It was a race which we got underway nicely, but then all of a sudden there was drama in towards Paddock Hill Bends because we had contact between Endarth Owens and Rupert Death. Now Endarth's car is there. That managed to get out for the restart of the Miglias, and I think Rupert Death's car has been repaired as well, because I can see a black car towards the rear, which would indicate that is Rupert's car. So I think that is all present and correct. And the other ones that had problems, of course, on the exit of Druids were that of Thorburn Astin. He was involved with Mark Sims in the number 20 machine, and also involved in that one was the car of Elliot Stafford. Now, whether all those three are out, I'm not too sure. We did have some heavy contact for what looked to be Thorburn Astin's car. That is a pink one, so if I look a little bit further down, have we got that car on circuit? No, Thorburn Astin's car is not there. I don't think Elliot Stafford's car is there either, no. So those two are missing, which is no real surprise. Rupert Death is out there, and Mark Sims is, by the looks, out there as well. I'm sure I've seen his car somewhere higher up the order, so I'm sure, yeah, Mark Sims is there somewhere. So we'll see how that does get on. Joe Ferguson was in strife yesterday, I think, in qualifying. He was in strife in the first race. I don't think that car has made it out either. So we are a few by the wayside, unfortunately, and they were going to be quick drivers who would have been coming from the back of the field. So that is a bit of a shame, but the ones we need towards the front are all present and correct. So up into position comes the 56 machine of Nick Padmore. He has done all the winning so far this weekend. Jeff Smith lines up alongside. He came here as the championship leader within the Miglias, and then behind that we have the Scott Kendall machine, the bright pink roof. You won't be able to mistake that one for anyone else. So he is there in third place with the blue and white livery on the side of the car, and then alongside Kane Astin has gradually been making his way to the head of the order. So Kane is there in the fluorescent yellow with the grey bodywork that sits on the outside of row 2, and then Phil Bullen Brown in the bright orange, pink, red, whatever colour you want to call it, on the inside of row 3 with Martin Wager alongside in car number 49. So we have the green flag towards the back of the field. We are missing, as expected, Elliot Stafford and Joe Ferguson towards the rear of what's going to be the Miglias. As the red lights go out, they all get away together, and it's going to be the start for Nick Padmore once again. It's going to be a drag race, though, between the top two. Jeff Smith's going to be on the outside line, which hasn't been a bad place to be so far this weekend in terms of starts. He then gets a nice cut back to the inside of Nick Padmore, and he tries to squeeze his car through there. It's a very small mini, and it's a very small gap, but it seems to work, and Jeff Smith just about gets his nose ahead, which he holds all the way around through Druids corner, and then Nick Padmore has to slot back into second place. So it's Smith that leads, Padmore is in second, third place, good start there for Kane Astin, and then behind we're going to have that of number 78, which is Scott Kendall. So on that merry way they go down in towards the left-hander of Surtees. Endarth Owens is definitely going to be one to watch out for here, because we know he was quick from the pit lane in the earlier race. He managed to get himself up inside the top top five. I think he got a penalty actually after that first race, because that's why we had the amended grid, because he was fifth. He was third actually as they went on to the last lap, but then dropped himself down to fifth, and then of course got the penalty. So he goes through, and there might be a bit of trouble here for the number 5 machine of Phil Bullen-Brown, because I think he's had some contact on the right rear, and that is now just starting to smoke a little bit as Aaron Smith tries to get to the inside of him. Another one who faltered in the earlier race today. Aaron Smith dropped right down into, I think it was about 12th place, wasn't it? So Aaron Smith did benefit from penalties from people around him, got back up into 10th place, but Aaron Smith had a very slow car towards the end of the earlier race, so we expect him to do well as well. He is a former champion and a 4-time champion, in fact, in this championship, so he will be another one to keep your eye on in that number 1 machine. But just for now, the top 5 starting to eke out a gap, as trying to look down the inside there was the number 78 machine of Scott Kendall, but that doesn't really equate to anything, because Kane Astin has a little nibble at the back of Nick Padmore as they come back onto the start-finish line once again. 5 for the lead, with Endarth Owens at the back. 6th place lead in the next train is Ian Curley. He contested quite hard the podium places in race number 1 as well. And Endarth Owens, just to say that he has now gone through into 4th place. So move done on what's going to be Scott Kendall. So Endarth Owens makes 1 up, and now he'll set his sights on the final step on the podium and to try and get his way past Kane Astin. And Kane's a hard racer. We've got trouble up at Druids corner, and the number 24 machine has been pushed round. I think he was run over the top of, not quite on the roof, but over the wheels there. So Steve Ewell has unfortunately had a moment. Does he rejoin? No, he's stationary in the middle of the circuit at Druids, so that's not good. I think he's trying to move, but whether that can find a gear, not sure. There's a bit of debris and bodywork on the track as well, so that could mean we get an interruption for another race here. So we're not really getting through these early stages, are we? With quite a few dramas, but they're all eager to get these races underway and try and get the best positions they possibly can. That car of Steve Ewell is still stuck in the middle of the track as it works its way now up in towards the yellow flag zone, and as they do so, I think we are going to see the safety car very shortly. It hasn't been called as of yet, so there have been a few late calls actually, but they'll probably just wait and see if that car can be fired back up as Jeff Smith leads the pack down towards Graham Hill Bend, with still behind Nick Padmore and Kane Astin. Endarth Owens into that 4th place, and 5th place at the minute for number 78, which is Scott Kendall. So they charge their way on towards Surtees and McLaren. Still, Steve Ewell has not moved, so marshals will run onto the circuit, but I don't think they're going to be able to help in the space of this very short Brands Hatch lap. They're going to try and maybe push it to the inside of the circuit, but as I said, this lap is not that long, and there are marshals on circuit as the field is about to come up to that point of the circuit. Jeff Smith now goes to the inside of Nick Padmore. I think he was more defending than attacking there, so through they go in towards what will be a double wave yellow, and marshals now have to sporadically disperse from the scene, because as we said, the pack comes around very quickly, and still Steve Ewell's car cannot be moving. Of course, the more that we go through, the more the field is spread out and gives it less chance for Steve Ewell's car to be recovered. So I do think we are going to need a safety car somehow, because we're not looking likely to move it, although marshals are still standing by at the minute, so they're determined to get rid of this car as best as they possibly can, as the leaders work their way then onto the right-hander of Clearways and Clark Curve, and Steve Ewell's car, yes, will be pushed to the inside at Druids corner. So well done. I think marshals will have to run quickly now, either back to the outside or onto the inside, but they've done well. They've found a gap, and he is finally out of harm's way, and we do not need the safety car, which is always a good thing. We can continue with racing, and now yellow flags will be retracted, and we are going to be in a green flag zone, hopefully, this time round at Druids Corner, because Jeff Smith leads the field up towards Druids. Through they go. Nick Padmore still second, third place Kane Aston, fourth place Nick Padmore, and fifth place for Scott Kendall. So they're all being well behaved at the minute. They're all kind of staying in this 5-car train, not really making any moves on each other, so they are just biding their time in what is the final race for the Mini Miglias this weekend. So keep an eye further back as well, because Ian Curley is starting to claw his way into this equation, so he's going to make it possibly 6 now for the race lead. And then behind them we have Phil Bullen-Brown, who continues on his way, although that smoke was kind of just flailing the left front. I think it might now just rubbed itself away, and he is feeling a bit more confident there ahead of the number 1 machine, Aaron Smith, who continues to make progress up the order as well. So it could be very shortly an 8-car train for the lead, and for Endalf Owens it's going to be onto the third step of the podium, round the outside of Kane Aston. Tremendous move there from him. He has pulled off all these moves across the course of the weekend. He is the bravest of the brave, and he knows that he can't hang around too much longer, because if he does so, he will lose touch to those ahead of him. So Endalf Owens is happy to go through. He finds himself now in third, and the next target, the man who might have to be a little bit cautious here, is Nick Padmore, because we know what Endalf can do, and we know what his racing style is like at the same time. So on their way again through Surtees and McLaren. Ian Curley, I think it's fair to say, is now right there, so he has made it the 6-car train we needed. We just now need the other 2 to just get a little bit more of a wriggle on in the form of Phil Bullen-Brown and Aaron Smith, and then we should be able to see those 8 cars together. And keep an eye on Rupert Deeth as well. We kind of forgot about him, but he started, of course, at the rear of the field after that incident this morning in race number 2. He is now 3.5 seconds back from the pack ahead of him, but he is at the lead of the chasing pack. So again, if they all start squabbling up the road, which they are pretty much doing now, then Rupert Deeth's going to be there quicker than we think. So keep an eye on that all black car, car number 23, just coming now from Druids down towards Granville Bend, where the leaders are. And it's still Jeff Smith, who is just about hanging on ahead of the new 2nd place car now, which is going to be Endalf Owens. So he got a place away last time through. He gets a place away this time. Maybe on the next lap he'll get the place away to take the race lead. But Jeff Smith, as strong as he has been this weekend, he hasn't managed to hold on to a win. So championship leader prior to Brands Hatch maybe would like to end the weekend in style, but Endalf Owens might have something to say about that. Gets a good run down towards Paddock Hill Bend. This has been the move he's made on multiple occasions, and it's going to happen again. Round the outside for Endalf Owens. It's a sideways Endalf Owens who controls the car nicely, just about skirts through without very much running into the gravel trap, and he does work his way now into the lead of the race. So brilliant stuff there from Endalf Owens, and with that he is going to head the field down towards Graham Hill Bend. So he flirted with the edge of the gravel trap at Paddock Hill Bend. It was a very, very late move round the outside, and with that you need to make sure you brake and also control the car at the same time. So Owens is now your leader. We're going to have a change for 4th place possibly now, because we've got coming through, or trying to come through, Scott Kendall on Kane Aston, but the grey and yellow machine of Kane does hold on to 4th position. Scott Kendall might try and get the cut back on towards the Brabham Straight, so that's going to be nose to tail. Maybe a little bit of a push coming from Scott Kendall just to eke the gap open, maybe squeeze that mini through, but no, Kane Aston is not having any of that, is he? He makes sure that he will hold the position in towards the first corner, and behind Aaron Smith is now through on Phil Bullen-Brown, isn't he? Yeah, so he goes through in the number 1 machine ahead of number 5. And in terms of Rupert Deeth, well, he's come in 3.3 seconds the last time we checked, and now down to 2.6 seconds for the number 23 machine. So Rupert is on a charge. He still has 11 minutes to go, so we're not even into the second half of the race at the minute. So if he's done this in the first half, let's see what he can achieve in the second 10 minutes of this 20-minute encounter. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that progress as it stands. Keep an eye on what's happening with the leaders as well. They are a little bit further down the order, currently being led by the 474 machine. So that's going to be Josh Evans, who heads the field at the minute, and he finds himself a good couple of seconds up the road from the 2nd place car, which is the number 126 of Peter Hill. So the man from the Vale of Glamorgan is chasing as hard as he possibly can. Still no change in terms of the top runners at the minute, as Mark Sims is working his way through. And to be fair, Mark Sims, with that earlier incident where he was taken out on that first lap, he hasn't made as much progress as Rupert Deeth, but just wondering if there's still a little bit of a niggle with that car. But Mark Sims for now up into 16th position. leaders make their way down towards Surtees again. It's a freight train almost for these leaders. They're all, again, just playing ball, aren't they, at this stage of the race? There was a moment where Owens went for it and took place after place after place. Since then, we haven't really had too much retaliation, but we know Jeff Smith is quick. We know he tried to work his way back past Nick Padmore in the earlier race, but he was just a little bit stronger was Nick Padmore and managed to hold on to the line. And now Nick Padmore thinks this might be his chance to go, because if he doesn't, then Owens may possibly be away and up the road. So Nick Padmore doesn't want to be stuck too long behind Jeff. Kane Astin thinks the same as well. He wants to try and get his way through on this occasion, but it's now kind of just becoming that point where you're very bunched together, and if the car in front brakes and you miss your braking point, there could be contact. We're kind of wary about how they're placing the cars, and that could also lead to some mistakes as well. Just keeping an eye on what's happening behind the top 7. I think now Aaron Smith, no, in fact, who is in 7th place, he is the man I'm kind of keeping an eye on, because I think he has some potential in the closing stages of this 3rd and final Miglia race at the minute. He's definitely my pick for someone to still continually make progress through the field. So Aaron Smith works his way up towards the line. We've still got a good battle going on further down. This is going to be Mark Sims still, isn't it, who is trying to keep at bay another Miglia, and also I think the Libra class leader should be in there somewhere as well. So those 4 or 5 cars about to come back onto the start-finish line. And yeah, Mark Sims ahead of what was last time the 84 machine, so that would have been Ryan Taylor. And now it's going to be, in fact, the Libra class leader of Josh Evans, who goes round the outside of Mark Sims in towards Paddock Hill Bend. So nice stuff there for Josh Evans. Doesn't really need to be in this battle with Mark Sims, but he just wants to make sure there's a couple of cars between himself and the chasing Libra there in 2nd place, the light blue machine of Peter Hills, and he certainly is for the time being. So good fighting everywhere we look at the minute, and for the lead we're going to have a change, because Jeff Smith has now got through on Nick Padmore, and again I'm not too sure if that was a mistake from Owens or if he may have been slightly pushed wide there, but Jeff Smith does go through nonetheless. Nick Padmore goes through at the same time, and Kane Astin, can he make it 3 through on the same person in the space of 1 short straight? No, because Owens fights back round the outside. We're going to be almost 3 wide up towards Druids corner. Padmore to the inside, Smith in the middle, and Owens goes back to the lead all the way round the outside line there. Tremendous move from Owens. He has been absolutely on fire through Paddock Hill Bend through the course of these races. He's unstoppable really. Once Owens goes to the outside, there's no chance you are ever going to get back ahead of him. So now back into the lead of the race. Jeff Smith did run wide in towards Druids corner, which now sees him down in 4th place, because both Nick Padmore and Kane Astin were the ones who benefited from that. Ian Curley is now going to try and attack the back of Jeff Smith, so look out for the number 98 machine of Ian Curley, the 1998 and 1999 champion within the Mini Miglias. So he is looking to now work his way past this year's championship leader Jeff Smith, who just about covers in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Here comes Aaron Smith, a couple of places back, almost took to the inside line there of Scott Kendall, but wasn't able to get that job done. So they again take themselves up in towards Druids corner. Ian Curley into the back of Jeff Smith. I think that was more of a love tap than anything else, but Ian Curley has almost lost then the position to Scott Kendall, who comes to his outside on the run down towards Grand Hill Bend, and lo and behold, Rupert Death is now with the leading pack. So we've got, what is it, 9? Yeah, we've got 9 for the lead now. So this is tremendous mini racing. We've got 6.5 minutes to go. Rupert Death onto the back. Aaron Smith hasn't made any further progress in that number 1 machine, so hasn't really been able to find the gap through, and in fact I think he's lost that place to Phil Bullen-Brown, who is now back ahead of him up into 7th position. Yeah, so Phil Bullen-Brown's gone through. Rupert Death is about to try and go round the outside of Aaron Smith on the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend, and that will be surely the place away. It's going to be hard, it's going to be a hard task, but no, Rupert Death can't get it done. Thought he was then, and he's sideways almost into the gravel, which is a very scary moment for Rupert Death. Held onto that very well, but there's definitely at least one wheel in the gravel as they went through Paddock Hill Bend. It shows how hard he was pushing to try and do a similar move to what Owens did a lap ago, which got him back into the lead of the race. So off we go once again down the Cooper Straight. Kane Astin is still one to watch out for at the minute, because Kane, who has been on the top step of the podium only once so far this year, would love firstly to finish ahead of Jeff Smith in this final race of the weekend, but if he can win, that would be a good haul of points as they move off to that penultimate round of the season at Castle Combe in just a month's time. So Let's see if Kane Aston can do anything about the two ahead of him as he works his way now in towards Paddock Hill Bend. No change, I can tell you, for the top four. And behind, Rupert Death hasn't made any progress either, so he is still the all-black car at the back of the train as they now go in towards Druids corner. So Endorf Owens, car number 12 that leads. Second, number 56 is Nick Padmore. Third place, number 11 is Kane Aston, and fourth place is going to be number 46, Jeff Smith. Behind, fifth place I think it's just changed because Ian Curley, no in fact he's stayed in fifth place. Ian Curley, he was defending from Scott Kendall, he was trying to get himself back through. Number 5 is in seventh place, which is Phil Brown. Eighth place, number 1 is Aaron Smith, and ninth place still number 23, which is Rupert Death, as they turn away now on towards the completion of lap number 17. Still Mark Sims in a battle with what's going to be now the number 89 machine, so that's the car of Sean King, isn't it? Yeah, so Sean King, he is just ahead of at the minute, but it seems like Mark Sims is just dropping down the order, so I don't think this car is on the pace it should be, because normally we would see Mark Sims right up there running with the front runners. That's a bit of a bad year as Mark hasn't featured inside the top 5 for any of the races so far this year, actually, I don't think. Let's have a look. Yeah, no, he hasn't actually. So Mark Sims has had a bit of a torrid year and hasn't got much better this weekend with the incident we had earlier on, and now he works his way up towards Druids corner, and he might be attacked here by Peter Hills because he is the man I think on the tail as they turn their way in towards Druids. In fact, Peter Hills has dropped right down the order for some reason, so he is now a long way back from the leader in the Libras, which is still Josh Evans. So he is long gone up the road, is Josh Evans, as the rest of the pack in terms of the leaders now heading towards Paddock Hill Bend. This is where we have the closest of the fight so far. This is a dicey battle out front, although the top 4 now just starting to spread the rest of the pack, as it seems, because the top 4 just started to get into a stride, whilst Ian Curley continues to battle with Scott Kendall, who is still trying to keep at bay Aaron Smith, and also that's of Rupert Death. I think there's just been a moment there for Phil Brown as well, because he's now dropped right to the tail after a wide moment in towards Druids, and he's got a bit of a damaged car now. The right front bumper is kind of hanging off. The right rear wheel arch I think is with some damage as well, so Phil Brown is definitely being bullied up on here, I think, in this race, it's fair to say. With 2.5 minutes to go, we're going to come through with just a handful of laps now remaining in this race, and for second we might just have the change because Kane Aston gets alongside Nick Padmore with a push from behind. Kane might just get the place away, and if Jeff Smith is lucky he'll go through at the same time because the door is left open. Nick Padmore had no chance of shutting it because Kane Aston was already there, and Jeff Smith does take his opportunity to get up into the podium places. Although Nick Padmore, double winner so far this weekend, fights back again. There's debris in the middle of the circuit at Druids corner, so that shouldn't be too much of a concern for the drivers. If it does get hit, that's not a problem. That'll go wide of the circuit and then out of harm's way. But on our way we now go. There's some traffic for the leaders to deal with, so straight away Endorf Owens is on the flashes just to say, I'm coming through, do not hold me up. That's not what I need. I would like a victory here this weekend at Brands Hatch. So Endorf Owens goes through, has only done a bit like some of the competitors this season, the highlight meetings, that being Donington Park at the beginning of the season, and also the support race at the British Touring Car Championship at Thruxton. Apart from that, Endorf Owens hasn't done any more races so far this year, but this would be for Endorf a first win of the season if he can keep him, second win of the season, because he did take the win at Donington Park, so he's on for his second, which would be nice for him. He's not in the championship hunt, that is for sure, but to get a win at a prestigious event like the Mini Festival, Endorf Owens would be massively chuffed, I'm sure to say. Jeff Smith now through the traffic. He still runs there in third place. Where's Nick Padmore? Is he down to 4? Yeah, he is down to 4th, and he's actually falling into the clutches of Ian Curley as it stands. So Nick Padmore, maybe his car and tyres have just started to fade away in this third race of the weekend. Normally for the championship we only have 2 races per meeting, but for this weekend, because it's such a special event, we have got the 3 races, so maybe again the tyres and the cars being put much more through the paces that they're used to. As across the line we go then to start what's going to be the last lap of the race. Aaron Smith now alongside Ian Curley, going to get the run down towards Paddock Hill Bend on the inside line. Rupert Death's going to say, yep, I'll have that place as well, but Rupert Death going to get the job done up on 2 wheels in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Is still on the inside for now of Ian Curley as they hit the brakes in towards Druids. Can he get the job done in the all-black car? Ian Curley is quick round the outside. He holds on to it and have the preferred and inside line in towards Graham Hill Bend. And Ian Curley, I think, will hold on to 6th position, but Rupert Deep, this has been a tremendous run. He's going to lose another one, is Rupert, because he runs wide and sees Scott Kendall back down the inside of him. And let's see if they can have a drag race to the checkered flag, which is now being prepared. The clock has ticked to 0, and Endarth Owens is going to win by, I'd say, just over a second, which seems to be very comfortable in Mini Miglia racing this year. So Endarth Owens up towards the line. First win of the weekend, but second win of the season for Endarth Owens. Things have come good in the last race of the weekend for him. Second place goes the way of Kane Astin. Third place then to number 46, which is Jeff Smith. And then behind that we have Nick Padmore in 4th place, double winner previously this weekend in the 2 races prior, with 5th place going the way of number 1, which is a good recovery there for Aaron Smith. Then in 6th place is number 98, which is Ian Curley. Scott Kendall comes through in 7th. 8th place from the back of the grid of the Mini Miglias was Rupert T. So a sterling drive from him. It's again just shows how competitive the field is, because as soon as you get to that group, which is the quickest, you do find it really hard to find your way through. So Rupert Deeth for 8th, 9th place to Phil Bullen Brown, and 10th place to Colin Peacock. Winner of the Libras already across the line for Josh Evans. That was a very comfortable win for the 3rd race. Second in Libras goes the way of Peter Hills, and 3rd place to the 595 machine of Julian Proctor. But for Endarth, he is your winner, not the quickest in terms of a race lap. That went to the man in 2nd place, which was Kane Astin on a 54.612. But Endarth looks very happy as he makes his way back into the pit lane. He'll be delighted with that, and he'll be the man who will be on the top step of the podium for the final time this weekend in the Miglia. So Endarth Owen wins by 1.3 seconds. Kane Astin finishes 2nd ahead of Jeff Smith. Nick Padmore, Aaron Smith and Ian Curley next up, with Scott Kendall in 7th. Rupert Deeth 8th and Phil Bullen Brown 9th. Colin Peacock, Martin Wager and Alex Osborne in 10th, 11th and 12th. Then behind that in 13th place is going to be the number 29 machine of Damien Harrington. James Cuthbertson finishes in 14th ahead of Jody Lees. Joe Polly is 16th ahead of the Libra winner Josh Evans, and then Ryan Taylor, Sean King, Mark Sims, Peter Hills, Mark Cowan, Julian Proctor and Les Stanton is the last of our finishers down in 24th place. Just the one non-finisher in the end after that moment up at Druids corner. That was Steve Ewell in the number 24 machine after a little bit of contact. As I said, someone did ride over the right hand side of the car, which just left some debris on the circuit, but for Steve Ewell, he did manage to get pushed by the wonderful marshals at Druids off the circuit and into that gap, which did mean we didn't have to have a safety car, which is always really good to see. So the drivers will be celebrating in their own special way down there in Parc Ferme.